Okay, so hi everyone to all the portals that we have met with today for Global We and UN Live's first ever six-way connection, as well as to all our wonderful viewers watching us across the globe. Today is a very wonderful and very unique connection, not just because it's a six-way connection, but because we're also kind of putting an end chapter to the artist residency of the first phase of UN Live. And so we're talking about climate action with respect to art, poetry, music, with respect to like work in the earth. And so we're talking with the Mumbai portal right now. So for all of you who don't know, hi, my name is Khushi. I'm the facilitator here at the Mumbai portal. And I'm going to give you a small brief about where the Mumbai portal is before I kind of hand it over to Sharmila, one of the co-curators for the artist residency here. So the Mumbai portal is located in Dharavi. Dharavi is one of Asia's largest slums, which is located in the heart of the city, unlike a lot of impoverished areas which kind of get pushed outside. Dharavi is located in the heart of the city, and it is solely responsible for like more than 80% of the waste that is repurposed, reused that the city generates. So if you walk out of our portal right now, you see a large school ground because we're based out of a school. And when you cross the road, we have Maharashtra Nature Park, a wonderful park because up until the 1980s, it used to be a dump yard. So 32 acres of dump yard in the past 20 years has been turned into a nature park. That's just a small brief about where the Mumbai portal is. And we have very wonderful guests here with us today. We have Amrita, part of the artist residency. We have wonderful guests who are going to be performing poetry for us today. And we have Sharmila, the co-curator for the artist residency across all the portals here at Global We. So I'm going to let her speak to us.
Hi, thank you. And it's a great pleasure to see many of the artists who have been part of this residency with, Kigali, Johannesburg, Bangalore, Addis Ababa, and Mumbai joining us. The Global We Art Residency was an experiment, which was sort of initiated by Dr. Ben Parry and by Anne Sophie and myself. The idea was that instead of artists traveling to various places as they normally would in a residency, we thought that the artists would stay local and they would respond locally to prompts or to to suggestions or scores that each one of us would give each other. For the past 8 weeks, we've been meeting every Monday, and it has been a wonderful coming together of thoughts, ideas, sharing of feeling, sharing of artworks, performances, and connecting with each other. And today is like almost the coming together of what soil meant. So the first prompt, which was given by Ben to all of us, was about soil, and the subsequent prompts, which came every week by different artists, and the responses to these, which were also done by all of us, has made this an engaging and a rich kind of coming together of thoughts, artworks. And today we are going to start with Bangalore and Sarjapur Karis or Suresh, who is going to tell us about foraging and what he has been doing as an artist, as a social practitioner, and how the prompts which he got from his other 7 friends has resulted in what he's going to be doing today. Thank you, Suresh.
Can you translate what
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just move on to you. Suresh start. Okay.
Thank you, Sharmila, for introducing my artist. I was going to allow you to do that, but you've done a really good job of it. So thank you for doing that for us. So we're joining you from Bangalore, which is a city in the southern part of India. And it is a very metropolitan city, and our portal is situated in this, like in the heart of the city in the planetarium. So today I'm joined with Suresh, as Sharmila mentioned. My name is Dhriti. I'm one of the facilitators here in the Bengaluru portal. And I will now hand it over to Suresh to introduce himself and what he's going to be presenting today, and then we will go into your presentation.
Hi everyone. This is Suresh from Bangalore. I'm an artist. I'll not talk much about myself right now because there is a video we're going to play, and there's an introduction in the video, and also you'll get a sense of the farm which I'm trying to manage from last 3-4 years. In this project called Sajabra Karis, a community garden, kitchen garden project, which started as a kitchen garden, and now it is a kind of a full-fledged integrated farm where we have produced to sell, and we have produced to exhibit, and we have produced to talk about. So today I'll be focusing on foraging and that aspect of it. But the video is more about what we are doing because it's quite an old video, 2 years back. And later after the video, I'll talk about the scores I responded and also about the foraging things which I'm focusing on generally. Thank you. Now we'll play the video it is about 16 minutes, but feel free to move around.
And also to our online audience who are joining us on YouTube, please feel free to leave your comments, questions in the chat box, and we'll get Suresh to answer them after the video ends.
I'm Suresh Kumar, and basically trained as a sculptor, artist, other things, and studied that also formally, and been doing art for some time, and like objects I was doing sculptures and installations and all. Eventually, in like last 18-16 years, I got mostly into performance arts, or what you call as community art, or also public art, all this. So mostly kind of an art practice which is very social, so that the public, the audience, or the people around are not just audience for your work, but they come together to make this art possible or art to happen. So in similar lines or similar philosophy, I've been working on also this something called Sajabra Karis. So this is not just a project to either to conserve the seeds, native seeds, or just to work with the communities around, farmers and kitchen gardeners and things like that, or it's just not about just the archival of recipes and things like which I'm focused on also. So it is a kind of a very holistic project where we also talk about ecology around, we talk about the water bodies around, we talk about how the surroundings like Sajapura, which gets very less rainfall compared to other parts of the city, and still a lot of civilization happened here and people survived here, and they had a very wonderful vegetative life around, in some kind of a balance. This thing is in a border of Tamil Nadu, and it's in between Bangalore and Tamil Nadu border, and also culturally it's a very predominantly Telugu speaking area, but belongs to Karnataka and sharing border with Tamil Nadu. So in a way, it's a beautiful confluence of three cultures coming together. As a teenager, I had a small patch in front of our house because we didn't live here because my dad has a job in the city, Indranagar. So we were like one leg here and one leg in town. And my interest was here only because I'm a single parent too. And that made me cook a lot, and we were traveling a lot. So that traveling, because of my art projects and all those things, we were traveling together so much with my daughter that I didn't happen to really start off a terrace garden, or at least the food garden, on the terrace, growing edibles. So once I decided to not to, because my daughter also was growing up, and also she had to focus on her school and etc. So this has made me to kind of start off this terrace garden, and that when I was doing that and I saw that what people are normally eating, even being in a countryside like Sarjapura, that it was very sad that people are eating, or not eating as they used to, or now they're dependent only on the supermarket shelves, what's sold on the shelves, whether it's not about being fresh or not fresh, but it's about the options they had, So when I check them if they're eating ivy gourd or turkey berries or something, and they all are so familiar with it, but they've not eaten it in recent times, for example, So this made me to really think, and also of course wellness, because I see a lot of people, even being in a countryside like this, in the outskirts, being very diabetic, or a lot of other health issues, which is like not one or two, that's been like very common now. So this made me to think about it, They are in a good position today because of the real estate around, and also a lot of people have sold their lands, also a lot of people are into business and all that. There's a new money around. So this has made also them to build very fancy houses. So when they've been building fancy houses, I see that there are no garden spaces anymore. So this was one of my concerns for them to, I wanted them to rethink about their houses, and even in that concrete spaces, they can really grow food for their families and things like that. So my terrace garden experience, when I shared their images, I made a slide presentation in the village and all that. So they were very impressed that I could do on 4th floor, and they can still do around their houses. So this led me to this kind of a project, and that is when I got a grant from BSF, Bangalore Sustainability Forum, and that I could work for 1 year to propagate this heirloom seeds and make a nursery, and then also share this thing, and also document the recipes. And this ladies were cooking this curries and all those things in their families. I used to go and record and all. This is just pre-COVID times. So once the COVID happened, I stopped going, and the documentation part still remains incomplete. So at that end of the project, I realized that a lot of farmers or my relatives, and also when I was talking about all these things and nice things about it positively, optimistically, so they also questioned me that, no Suresh, it's fine, what you're doing is all good, but where is the customer base for organic produce here? Because they don't know about forums like Farmizan and all those things, for example, or also they also don't see that such market exists around. So, and also the question, okay, this is doing in a garden scale is fine, but what if we scale up? If I have a small farmer of 1 acre, and how do we do it? And they said it's impractical, and they said you can't do it also. They even challenged me that you can't do it. You can't give so much to the soil and all those things, That's why they were using all the chemical fertilizers. And I said, no, it's possible. And then that is when actually I was looking for a space. So once I moved here, my cousin offered the space to work because he couldn't maintain this, and there are not many people to work in this thing. But it has a good resources. It's very close to neighbors' farms around, because this village has the highest vegetable growers in the entire taluk. So there are 4 to 5 trucks minimum every day they take vegetables from this village. So it's quite a healthy, competitive village in that sense about growing vegetables. There are not much people growing sericulture, floriculture and things like that, especially this particular, they're kind of specialized in vegetables here. So I found it a very challenging space here, that something change can happen here, because they are focusing on vegetables and all. So that made me to do it in a farm scale. As a concept, I'm still sharing the seeds for free with anybody, with urban gardeners, with the villagers, anybody who wants to grow. So it's not like people are taking for mass plantations, but people are like, women would come and say, I want to grow bottle gourd, I want to grow this thing. And so I've been sharing seeds like that. And also urban gardeners. Right now I have a good customer base, for example. They also are interested. I also kind of try to help them or motivate them. We also sell manure, we also sell Jivamrita now recently, and we also, not along with only produce, we also encourage them to grow something on their balconies and terraces and all those things. So it's been a very community building exercise that way. So it's been very good so far. No, see, they all admit, because now we are in the middle of this COVID kind of a pandemic situation. So they all are aware about, because everyone is talking about our immunity system or how good we are, or what is our food, where is our food coming. There's much more consciousness now than it was 2 years back, for example, or 1.5 years back. So that, given that context, people are aware of it, but at the same time they say, oh no, we have commitments, we have a kind of a setup or whatever it is, the labor and all those things. So what farmers does is mostly they want to clean it up till 3 times, 4 times, so that they don't see a single grass or anything, and then you start gardening. And that's really a very, not only scientifically it's wrong, but it's also very inhuman also, I can say. People are religious, people are very generous about being nice to whatever it is. You also have to be nice to the soil also, because I keep telling that until you don't see soil as a living being, like the way you see pets and cows and dogs and this thing or plants, you don't treat the soil as a living being, you can't grow anything out of it. It's not a medium. Soil is not a medium. Soil is a life. So once the initial formative years of farming is all about growing the soil. You have to grow the soil. Once the soil is grown, then anything you throw on it, anything you sow on it is magical. So this is something I'm trying to work with them. Always shouted, we talked, we painted, we did slogans about growing trees, asking people to grow 2 trees, and those trees don't exist at all, even now. The kids, we have been painting now about trees and about pollution and everything, but where is the trees then? We don't see a 20-year-old tree. Whatever you've seen is all 50 years back. And we don't have a park which is in the city, which is like done in the last 20-25 years. We have only park which was done pre-British time. So what are we doing? But we talk about so much the smart cities, and we talk about so much that has come up in the recent time. Our titles of the cities have changed. But what happened to that very basic things that we were supposed to do for a city? But there's a change happening. Because positiveness is about that now we have enough produce, varieties of produce to sell it to the customers. It's not that everything I'm growing. I'm also sourcing from other farmers. So me sourcing that is encouraging them to grow more. Because I'm very strict about buying organic and things like that. And because I'm buying also for a reason, because I don't grow palak and mainstream vegetables at all. I'm focusing on what I have to focus on. But they are buying hybrid seeds from the shop and they're growing the regular thing. I'm also supporting them. So this is a trend that I'm requesting even the organic farmer friends whom I'm buying the produce, that they should go out to heirloom. It's also your responsibility now. It's not that you're making money out of organic produce, but it's the responsibility is on you that you grow heirloom seeds. It's also effortless for them, because growing a hybrid seed in an organic way also needs a lot of efforts. Like you have to do neem oil sprays, that astra, this astra, and all the weapons you're using on them. Actually, if you use a heirloom seed, you don't even need alastra. I think in this my entire 1 year of experience here, I only sprayed once recently for the aphids. Other than that, I have not done anything. I don't even go for any astras. I don't have time to prepare all that. If you see that, because I'm being an artist, I'm very careful about the titles or the concepts, and I mean, including the logo, for example. I always think about it also. And you see our logo says Sajapra Curries or Sajapra Sar Kannada also, Sar Kannada. And this archiving of the recipes and promoting the recipes was the biggest intention. But when people are talking about Amma's recipe, Ajji's recipe and all, actually it's nothing but no secret in it. There's no chemistry involved in it. It is all about the loss of the quality ingredients in the curry. If somebody you have a memory of a good curry eaten in a native, it's because the produce was native there. It's nothing, no secret. No recipes died with somebody. It's the ingredients which has died with somebody. Actually, with no COVID situation, actually by now I think I would have done this cafeteria already, the canteen idea already, because Sajapra curry is not complete from the seed, soil to the curry, tadka. So I wanted to focus on all that aspects. But just that last year this COVID situation happened and people had kind of a fear about eating out and all those things. I accept that. And also know a lot of restaurants have to close and all those things. So that part of the Sajapra curry is held up for now. An art company, art project, community-based art project. So a lot of art practitioners, I mean, those who are very contemporary I'm talking about. It's not like somebody who's only familiar with painting, sculpture, or that kind of mainstream this thing. They might not accept this as an art, but people who are kind of have this kind of practices, or they're exposed to such practices worldwide. So they do. I have initially maybe they might have said how and all, because many projects have done something like that when they called it how is it art and all. Sajapra Curries is been a community-based art project, and no doubt about it. And I would see it as an art practice, because other than this, I am not doing anything as an art. I'm not doing sculpture. They're saying like, मैं वो कर रहा हूँ, ये side में है, वो कर रहा हूँ, ये अलग है. No, nothing, no business of that at all. I believe in this, and most of my past projects are like this.
Cut you with everything else you had to say.
I just wanted to tell you, Suresha, that Mr. Bhagat, who has come from Navi Mumbai, or Vashi, Ulve, while he was watching your film, he was, I was continuously trying to translate into Marathi. And he told me that, he comes from a family of farmers. And he has always been growing his own vegetables, not only for the family and himself, but also for selling. So he was very, very happy to see what you have been doing. And it was like, it gave him. They were pleased to see that. And he's saying that, maybe. And he said that it brought back a lot of his old memories about the kind of work that he was doing earlier. And as you know, they have been working, CASP has been working in the Urve village, where both Mr. Matre and he comes from. And so as we continue in this dialogue that we are having, Amrita will be introducing Mr. Matre, and she will be telling us, and he would be giving us the prompt for today. Are we waiting for other questions?
Yeah. If everyone in the audience who is joining us online could drop a message on the live stream of where you're joining in from and what your thoughts were on that video that Suresh just presented. You can do that and we'll try to answer them or acknowledge your comments when they arrive. But Suresh, I know you had more you wanted to share, so would you like to?
Thank you all for watching, and it's a quite old video, means like I think it's 2 years old, and we have moved a lot. In the sense, I'm moved in the sense much more closer to the people and doing a lot of workshops and a lot of things. And we definitely want to bring focus on foraging and this kind of knowledge, which is like kind of lacking. So it's not that we started off just to encourage kitchen gardeners initially, but since the COVID happened, we focused on the farms itself because there was nothing as such as a social situation at the time. We couldn't meet people, we couldn't do workshops and things like that. So I almost isolated myself in a farm and did this, what you're seeing today. And now as things are getting lighter and better, so I'm able to reach out to the people with a lot of workshops and foraging walks, which we do, involving the community and also the recipes and things like that. So we've been doing this farm visits and workshops in the farm. And now we have come to the stage that I'm proposing a course on foraging and cooking at a university nearby. So I'm trying to make it like this very humble idea, concept of women, especially across the cultures, foraging in the wild and bringing it something home and cooking for the family. That very gesture is something that's so beautiful and poetic and also very touching. So I really want that as a not like an activism kind of a thing, but it's much more a gesture that we all have to do for ourselves or our families and things like that. So I'm working on that, and that's the journey of this project from terrace garden to that I'm proposing this course to a university nearby. Things like that. So I would also talk, or maybe we'll keep in touch with us, a lot of folks to understand this kind of culture that we had kind of forgotten or out of memory, for example, about the wild vegetables that we were eating and wild greens that we were there for free, and we stopped eating them or cultivating them or recognizing them and things like that. So this is a connecting point. It's not the end of the residency. We hope that we'll continue all through much more with joining these dots across the cultures. Thank you very much. And I'm ready to take some questions.
I think we have a question there in Copenhagen.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Hi, Suresh. It was really amazing to see your video. I'm Sophia, I'm the lead curator at your live. One thing I would be really curious to hear from you is whether you as an artist and you calling your work or describing the work that you're doing and working with the earth and creating vegetable and selling that to people, Do you experience that it helps you in any way that you communicate that this is an art project, or what does it do for your ability to communicate the work you are doing to people and make it relevant? Or is it a difficulty? Is it a challenge? Is it a benefit?
For me, the immediate audience are the village people around me. And they were my first audience also because of the lockdown and all that. And only later on that this work was visible for the friends and the community, and then we reached out, or they reached out to us. And now there are a lot of school trips happening, field trips coming, where students come in, go and all. And a lot of my art friends also wanted to check that whether if this is an art project like my past projects, or this is like something I stepped out of the art context or something. So these are the grounding questions often talk when I present this work in the art context or in the art schools and things like that. So I'm really not concerned too much about it, because for me, the audience has been always a question for me than the concepts. So who are my audience? So because nowadays in this project, also I spoke in this regard in the residency also, that for me soil today means the people, not just the mud, So there's a popular belief that soil is not soil, soil is people, So if I say my people means they are my audience also. So that is the one reason this becomes an art project, because I changed the medium because the audience were different. So I was doing installation of performances to reach out to the people, for example, like how I stopped working from the object making to performances in public and things like that. So here, when I think about my own people, because I come from that region, that village, though I don't own a land, but the people are more or less are my relatives around and family friends around, things like that. So when I think about their aesthetics, that like today, pottery or weaving is seen as a craft. So I want to see this gardening skills and this foraging skills as a craft or art. So we have been debating about art, craft, and things like that, or where it is a livelihood project and things like that. So I'm trying to blur that lines between the livelihood projects and the crafts and the arts. It doesn't have to die for us to declare it something like a craft or something like that. So it can be a living art, or it can be a living craft. So these are the things I'm being doing, but all my energy is not gone in defining this, but all my energy is gone literally being there in the farm, working, and being with the people there. Every day there's an interaction. Farmers come around, customers buy and things like that. So it's not an exclusive farm only to produce, but it is a place for learning. On the Google Maps, when it asks what is this place, I immediately, in the first moment, 2019, I tagged it as a museum, because I didn't had a specific categories to do it. So from the day one, I'm very clear this is a place for learning. But just that COVID and all that made me to isolate myself and work more on the space and the soil and things like that. Then the people started coming in. So I really didn't have to reach out for the audience.
I think that's such an important point, and we also know at UN Live and believe very much in the way that we are working, that in order to reach people, you should use the medium that people already trust in and care about and feel passionate about. So if you want to reach any people and come into conversation and maybe take them on some path of change, the strongest way to do it, also we know that from behavioral sciences, is to work through the mediums or the expressions or the places where people already spend their time. So it's just really beautiful to see how you're doing it really locally, and how then also maybe it doesn't matter so much if it's called art or not art. In the end, what really matters is that you're using your skills as an artist to engage people with the mediums that they already care about.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or even comments? Even those joining. Yeah, go for it.
Cool. I just from the video, I like the part where he says like art is not a medium, art is life, it's alive. And so being alive and you being the creator also implies that the creation that you were doing, it implies that the soil itself was some type of a collaborator itself, because it's alive. You're creating with it. Then in that instance, then you're collaborating with it. So going into the project, I have like a two-part question. So going into the project, what sort of surprised you that you didn't expect for it to be like sort of a shock, but it sort of like came as a surprise? And secondly, because once you plant and once it's in the soil, you can only wait. There is a sense of no control of what will come out until it does. So that's where the soil comes in to collaborate. And what do you then do with the waiting between the planting and the harvesting?
Thank you. Very interesting question, because I've been asked similar questions. Like I'll answer your second question first. The second question is like one of my friend in a recent seminar asked me if it's an art project, so is it happening the way you imagined it? Because we artists are very adamant that we have an idea or an image or something that we make sure that that is implemented. That's the ego. But in this case, for me, this is the one of the longest running project of mine. Most of my projects never crossed 365 days. So all the projects were winded up in a time-bound manner. But this is the only project that I'm unable to wind it up by 1 year or 2 years, because I'm working with the elements. I'm working with the nature. The rainfall 2 years back was very different. The plants which survived 2 years back very well are very different from what is survived now, because 2 years we have a heavy rainfall, cold weathers. So the toughest of the vegetables which survived very, very, very strong summer is not surviving now. So I'm learning every season. If I miss something, or if I try not grow something in this season, I have to wait for 1 more year. So this is the time span. But in art, it could be 15 days, 2 months, 3 months, but here it's years and the seasons. So, when I was answering the question of this artist friend, that is it happening the way you imagine? Yes, actually. It is like a blueprint in my head. It's like as if I have sports in it, and it's happening because you're so involved. It's there in your inside that's what you want to see it. I'm not getting carried away because there is a success or there's a demand or a commercial interest in it. I'm not making it a full-fledged like farm we can make a lot of money like a startup. No, I'm holding on, and I'm very clear about it, where to control it and how much that I have to spend on learning part, so that people learn from this experience along with me. Yes, coming back to the first question.
Sorry. Could you please repeat the first one?
The first question was, during the process of starting this process, what stood out as a surprise the most? And you didn't expect it to be a surprise, but then it came as
the very surprising is that publicity I got it. because it's so direct to the people, like from the tiny school toddlers to the very established farmer uncles and aunts in the village, So I was quite popular. I mean, not for my looks with the beard and all that, weird looks, but with the approach, actually, that popularity is something that I couldn't. If I would have done like, even if I would have showed in the world best binales, they would have not recognized me in the village. And in the village, nobody knows that I'm an artist. They only know that I teach in some college or I'm a teacher or something, but nobody knows me as an artist there. Even my landlord doesn't know that I'm an artist. So, but it's fine for me. I don't have to prove it, but unless they understand and respect what I'm doing right now. So it's fine that way. So this is something very, very interesting that was a surprise. And at the same time that I could do something like this, which can connect a lot of classes, cultures, different cultures. This is something because it's a new neighborhood which has a lot of migrant people, not only working class, but also the IT companies and educational institutions and things like that. So that we are able to draw some kind of a melting pot, like kind of an exchange. These WhatsApp groups are very interesting for us. They are not just for customers as on the vendor service, but we are also sharing. Today, I shared even this event in the WhatsApp group where they buy our vegetables. So we are not selling the vegetables, we are also talking about it. And so that way is something very poetic and beautiful for me. And of course, I'm not romanticizing. It's a hard work and it's a lot of labor going in it, and that's there, but it's beautiful.
Thank you for that question. It was a really solid question.
I just want to make a small comment. Suresh, one of the most beautiful things that you told us during one of our meetings was about how the agrarian society look at their own bodies in relation to the soil. And you said that it doesn't matter where the person has gone, where they've led their life, but when they die, they like it if, it is always a wish of an agrarian person coming from your community to bring the body back to the soil so that it becomes one with the soil, which is very close to some of the concerns that Laikun also was talking about, where he said that, soil is like the dust to dust concept of Christianity, but also going from one, let's say, church to another, where the soil is picked up and taken back home as a form of blessing. So we are looking at soil as not just the place from where these vegetables or, which is giving us sustenance, but also this kind of symbiotic relationship that people, especially within our agrarian societies, have with the soil. And then what Amrita showed us were these photographs of the new airport, where the breaking of this hill, massive hill, not small,
the camera at Rita.
Yeah.
She's talking, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's.
Hi. Okay, so I think we're back online. For all the viewers who are watching us online, we're really sorry there have been some technical issues. So you may not be able to see us, but it's really great that you can hear us. And just like you can hear us, we hear you too. Please do comment about whatever poems you'll be hearing now. But before Amrita introduces our artists to you guys, as well as the other portals, we're just going to, so the poetry is happening in regional languages. So we're going to, at every point of time after a few verses, Sharmila will be doing a few translations for us as to what was said. So yeah, let's begin.
All right, so just to quickly, I have spoken about Mahatreji, and just to quickly that he is a celebrated published author, and he has also won various accolades, including the Agri Konkan Ratna, Agri Samaj Bhushan, excellent award, and for curating a lot of Varan. In fact, a lot of his poetry, protest poetry, have also been incorporated in the actual marches that have taken place over, the Navi Mumbai International Airport. So there's a lot of material on YouTube that you will find also where his songs have been incorporated into extended into protest forms. So Matre ji, बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद आप यहाँ आए और हम तो आपसे बहुत पहले से काम कर रहे हैं और तो आपको यहाँ आके कैसा लग रहा है और सबको कुछ कहना चाहते हैं उससे पहले उसके बाद आपका अपना कविताएं और आप मराठी में बोलिए
मैं ट्रांसलेट
वो शर्मिला ट्रांसलेट कर देगी कोई प्रॉब्लम
हिंदी में बोलेगा तो भी चलेगा
हिंदी में भी बोलेगा चलेगा
चलेगा पर तुमच्या कविता आगरी मराठी
आगरी
Okay, so they can see us again. So yeah.
ओ ये
Yeah, they can see us again.
बहुत साल पहले हमारे गांव में जब हमारा जमीन गया पूरा गवर्नमेंट ने लिया पहले खेती किया अभी एयरपोर्ट के लिए जमीन लिया और बाद में अमृता जी और कुछ बदवार जी हमें मिले बहुत हमें बोला उनको वो भी आके चले गए हमारी मुलाकात हो गई हमारी कविता भी उन्होंने सुना और उधर शूटिंग भी किया हमारे गांव में आज ये प्रोग्राम देख के ये हमारा पहला सानपड़ा में 3 सितंबर में प्रोग्राम हुआ था इनकी वजह से आज ये हमारा दूसरा प्रोग्राम इधर होता है हमें तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि ये दिल में हमारी खुशी होती है कि सब पूरा वर्ल्ड हमें देख सकता है हमारे प्रॉब्लम क्या है यहाँ के कि हम पूरा हमारे कविता में हमारे बोली भाषा में लिखा है और अमृता जी ने तो सुनाया है
ट्रांसलेट कर what Mr. Mhatre has been saying is that earlier when they were staying in the village they were growing their own food and then afterwards well settled villages were taken away from them and they were converted now they're going to be converted into this airport. So about 10 villages have been displaced. So kiti mansa sadharan त्या 10 villages madle गावातली around 10 to 12,000 people have been displaced because of the making of the airport. And he said that he has been working with Amrita and Kush, who have been going there regularly over the past many years. And he finds it really very he's thankful for the fact that it is through CASP that, international audiences and also audiences across India can actually listen to what is happening in this small area within Navi Mumbai.
तो आप और कुछ बोलना चाहती हैं कविता पर हाँ तो पहले कविता के ऊपर कुछ बोलिए फिर और जैसे
मी असा हात लावला की तुम्ही थांबा
गवर्नमेंट ने हमारा पूरा जमीन लिया और हमारा उधर का फार्मर मतलब किसान जो उसके ऊपर हमारा पेट चलता था वही सब लिया। अबे हमारे पास कुछ वजह नहीं, तो फिर सब आदमी ने, वहाँ के किसानों ने, फार्मर ने एक सपना देखा कि जब एयरपोर्ट बनेगा तब हम कैसे रहेंगे, हम हमें क्या मिलेगा। लेकिन हमारी कंडीशन पोजीशन तो बहुत अभी डाउन है। अब तो देखते रहेंगे, जब एयरपोर्ट बनेगा तब तो मालूम पड़ेगा। उसके ऊपर हमने एक कविता लिखा है, कविता का नाम है सपान, मतलब हिंदी में ख्वाब।
Matriji says that, we had great agricultural lands which were taken away from us, and now there's going to be the airport. All of us who were farmers, who were looking at this land as a source of livelihood and of sustenance, now are going to be looking at the airport. And the poem that he has written is called Sapan, which can be translated as dream. And he is now going to read the poem, which is called Dream, which is a collective dream of all the people who have lost their land and who are going to be looking at the airport.
कवितेचं नाव आहे सपान. झाला युवान तल्म बसणार युवानान, झाला युवान तल्म बसणार युवानान, प्रकल्पग्रस्त बघू नको तू सपान, प्रकल्पग्रस्त बघू नको तू सपान. शिरको बोरल्यावतीची BMTC केली, झाली NMT ना JNPT आली.
So he is talking about SIDCO, JNPT. JNPT. So these are the acronyms of the various development corporations. So he is talking about how, one started this whole idea of taking away the land, another one came, and then now there is Adani and all these people. So he has given the acronyms of all these different companies which have come in the past 20 years to take away the dream that the people were given.
शेर पोटाचा भरावन गारुनसी, लावलाय तुला भिकचे पंथासी. एक टायमाची ठेवली करून वरातान, प्रकल्पग्रस्त बघू नको तू सपान, प्रकल्पग्रस्त बघू नको तू सपान.
But the person affected by the project do not look at, you are not allowed to see a dream, is what he's saying. Because for the sake of caste, for the sake of caste, because many of the people living in these villages are probably from lower castes. For the sake of castes, you have been eating the soil, and which means that these are farming communities. So their whole sort of, sustenance came from the soil. But now, तुम्ही पुढे हे करा, वाचा, जातीसाठी तुम्ही.
जातीसाठी तुम्ही माती खाली व आजवर, तुमचेच पुढाऱ्याही केला तुमच्यावर कर. जीवन कंत्राटा ते लय झालं मोठ, ठेवलं तुम्हाला बनवून सागर गोट. तरी मारताव माशा त्यांचेच मुतान, प्रकल्पग्रस्त बघू नको तू सपान.
So he is saying that, oh God, it's gone. So he's saying that he's talking about how the politicians have actually given them promises which have never been fulfilled, and the food which they needed has been taken away from them, and they have been converted almost like, you know, the marbles which are Sagargote is these round stones with which people play. So humans have been turned into these game, into a game. This is the first. Tari Martava Masha. Yeah, and he also says about how Tari Martava Masha. So he says that they are killing the flies with the Martha Masha कोणाच्या म्हणताना?
त्यांच्यात अधिकारात आम्ही राहतोय.
Oh, and he says that, you know, flies become flies म्हणजे माणसं. So flies become like a metaphor for the people who are being killed by the piss which is being thrown at them. Okay.
यो माझा तो माझा करूनची जिनगानी तू मरताना ते पाजणार नाही पाणी म्हणून ते सोडून तो राजकारण आणला आवरेवर सापा काय तुम्ही साधवला कती जणांचे माती कालवली आनान प्रकल्पग्रस्ता बघू नको तू सपान.
So he's sort of blaming all the leaders and the politicians who have been actually promising a whole lot of things to the people who were affected by these projects. But unfortunately, they have never fulfilled any of the promises which were given to the people. And I mean, these are metaphors which sound really beautiful in the local language, but you know, when I translate them into English, they just don't mean much. But he's talking about how, instead of eating food, soil has been mixed in the food that was eaten. So it's actually, but in the Agri Marathi, it sounds very. It's very poignant, whereas, you know, when translated, it just becomes quite literal.
तुझे जीवाव गाऱ्या घोऱ्यात लय घेतल्या कती जणांच्या बघ कंचे कया जेल्या त्यांना निज तरी सुखाची लागतय का त्यांचं लय तुला देऊन धोका रंकारावांचं डाव पायलन पुंडली कान प्रकल्पग्रस्ता नको बघ तू सपान प्रकल्पग्रस्ता बघू नको तू सपान.
So he's talking about how it is impossible even for the people, for the perpetrators to sleep because of the kind of violence which has been meted out on the people in the villages. But even in spite of that, how, you know, in spite of that, it is impossible for the people to look out now for dreams because dreams have been completely destroyed, and even the act of dreaming is something that they can't indulge in.
So that's the first point.
So yeah, so that was the end of the first poem, and like of course, like I don't think like English or our translations are being able to do like complete justice to like the emotions with which these poems were written, and like the brutalities that like communities have faced in here. And we have a very interesting comment from Copenhagen. My opinion as an urban citizen is that every person should have accessibility to a small piece of land where it's possible to get in touch and connect with agriculture and biodiversity. I feel like that's a very interesting thought, and like ways in like it's interesting to hear like more and more people joining like the global we community, or whether it is through portals or as participants, or whether it's like through our online audience, because I feel like you know, only through conversations like these do like opinions like these and ideas like this that will keep coming up. So I think we can go on to the next poem.
Yeah, the second poem is called Ma Ami Konats Naika, which means then are we nobody. If this is the situation, then, which is not said, but then are we just nobody.
दूसऱ्या कवितेचं नाव आहे मग आम्ही कोणचं नाही का. इसका मतलब सब आदमी हमारे वहां के पॉलिटिक्स में डूब गए, पॉलिटिक्स में पूरा सत्यानाश हो गया हमारे सब लोग का. फिर बोलते हैं हम, ये बोलता है हमारे पार्टी में आओ, वो बोलते हैं हमारे पार्टी आओ, वो बोलते हैं हमारे पक्ष में आओ. पूरा तो हमारी जिंदगी बर्बाद हो गया फार्मर लोग का. इसलिए उधर का एक प्रकल्प हो, समझो हम बोलो या किसी के दिल की भावना बोलो, इसमें है हमारे राजकारणी कती मतलबी ज्याचा तो साधवतय का. जमीन भरावान घाली तरी पण मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का. जमीन भरावान घाली तरी पण मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का.
So he's talking about how everybody has gotten into different political sort of, you know, political parties, and because of which nobody is actually able to gain anything. And he says that if everybody has to be a part of a political party, then does the common person not belong to anybody?
कारचा संबंध आहे का सांगा राजकारणाचा याशी. प्रकल्पग्रस्त हसून खरं पुन पारलन पाठून घशी. आय बाबा पुन्हांचच नाही का, मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का. जमीन भरावान घाली तरी पण मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का.
He says that the politicians who are sort of, you know, claiming everything, if everything belongs to the claims that they are laying, then the common people don't belong to anybody. And the people who are affected by the project have to smile and bear whatever is promised to them by the politicians, but who do these common people belong to if they don't belong to the, you know, to the various political parties which are around?
लहानाचं मोठं झालून आयास तरी सगळ्यांना वाटतून फरक. केलून तशेला तो राजकारण आणला इदवाट संसाराच. मातिया नान भेलवली का, मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का. जमीन भरावान घाली तरी पण मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का.
So he says that even we have grown up in this soil. We have, you know, from being children to what we are now. And we have experienced this, but it is only the way the politicians lead, and they are the ones who are able to sort of tell you what you are supposed to feel. So then, does that mean that what we are feeling, do we not belong to anybody?
तुमची आमची पेटवून सगळ्यांच्या ठेवल्यान लावून शिवरातानी त्यांच्या वाबाया सलाप व गावतान झुल्यान बसून शिगानी जीव आमचा यो तलमाल तैका मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का जमीन भरावान घाली तरी पण मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का.
So again, it is a repetition of, even if we have suffered so much, Lana. People who have played in that soil, people who have been all the time living there. It's only the politicians. So this particular poem is like a rant about the way different political parties have been, taking away the rights of the people who were in those villages rather than helping them to claim their rights when this project was sort of initiated and as it carries on.
बनगरी मोर्चासाठी पुरपूर आगमस्तकी तलपायांची प्रकल्पग्रस्तांची जीवाव मोठ लंका केली व सोन्याची सांगा ती तरी राहणार आहे का मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का जमीन भरावन घाली तरी पण मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का.
Well, it is a little difficult to explain this because Lanka is from the Ramayana, which was supposed to be a very, very rich and a prosperous island. And so what he's saying is that, it's all about the promises that were made to the people. It's all about the dream which was shown that this project is going to bring to the people, but how just as, these dreams are just for the politician and the actual sort of people who benefit from it are never the people who have lost their lands, their livelihoods, and their ancestral sort of, memories.
हातांची येत लाव तोंडांची कार लाव कपालीचा नेमिलाचा घाला तुमच्याव येईल कवा तरी समजून नाही वयावाचा एकटा पुंडलिक बोंबालतय का मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का जमीन भरावान घाली तरी पण मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का मग आम्ही कोणच नाही का.
So, I mean, in many of his poems, which are, the traditional kind of forms of poetry here and protest songs, where he always sort of puts his own name, Pundalik, as, so at the end of the poem, he's always saying that it is Pundalik who has either written the poem or who is saying these words. He said that if everybody else is quiet, then is Pundalik, that is himself, is the only one who is going to keep screaming about these atrocities and different things which have happened around. खूप वाईट ट्रान्सलेशन केलं हा मी. So I've been doing really, I've not at all been doing justice because, the poetics of this is really difficult to sort of, and it's not just one of the languages that it's a dialect of a dialect. So it's a really difficult sort of, I can understand it, but to actually get those metaphors an equivalent within the English language is very, very difficult. And many of them become really interesting because these metaphors are around soil, around agriculture, etc., which make them very, very important to these agrarian societies which have lost their lands because of the new airport project.
Any comments? He's finished his second poem.
So I think we're done with like the second poem as well, and we have like last one one last very tiny poem to go to finish with, to kind of end the wonderful discussion we've had here at the Mumbai Port. Yeah. And before that, if any of the other portals or our viewers online would like to, tell us if they have any questions or any comments. I saw someone at Addis Ababa portal raise their hand. Why don't you say something? Yeah. Why don't you go ahead?
This is Vaikun from Addis. I felt like it's the famous Indian song, I'm just hearing. So, I'm just feeling like, like the voice and also I don't feel the situation is sad. I felt like this is a sweet song. I'm just listening. So I'm just admired with the invite guest voice. Even I feel like I can hear the Indian, so just to say thank you.
So as we remember, the first poem was called Dreams, which was actually talking about the dreams that the people are not allowed to have. The second was called Are We Then Nobody, which was talking about how the different political parties and political situations have been using, instead of giving, have been, taking away the rights of the people instead of giving. And the third one is called Inquiry. And inquiry as in police inquiry, or inquiry when, when when people are rehabilitated, then there are a lot of proofs and a lot of things that that one has to give so that they can be rehabilitated. Even if people have been staying in a village for generations, it is only when they have the proper documents that they can actually be given rehabilitation. So Inquiry is the third poem that he is going to read, and I am going to, you should help me with the translations.
I think, so Dhriti, I think we can address your comment after we finish the third poem.
The poem.
Like we have noticed you, it's not gone unnoticed. All right.
Yeah.
अभी 2017 साल में हमारा 15th अग्री 37 में जब मॉरिशस में हुआ, और मॉरिशस से हम इंडिया में आ गए 12 दिन के बाद में गवर्नमेंट ने यहाँ के सोचा कि अग्री कविता, मालवनी कविता और वाडवली कविता, ये 3 बुक निकले। तो उसमें अगरातल्या वाटा इस किताब में SYB के सिलेबस में हमारा 2 कविता आया है। वो कविता एक है इंक्वायरी और दूसरा है अमेय जातीचा अग्री। लेकिन अब मैं आपके साथ इंक्वायरी एक कविता पेश करता है जो अभी सिलेबस में चालू है 17 साल से अभी तक।
2017 पासून।
हाँ 2017।
So from 2017 when he तुम्ही मॉरिशसहून परत आले होते।
संमेलन झालं आमचं।
काय संमेलन होतं?
अग्री साहित्य संमेलन 15।
So in Mauritius, because there are a lot of Indian sort of, Indian immigration and migrants who have gone to places like Mauritius during the British times. There was a poets sort of convention which happened in Mauritius, and that is where he read this poem. And after coming back, these 2 particular poems, Inquiry and dusri kutli?
अमेय जातीचा अग्री।
This poem, which is called Inquiry, and the other one, which is called We Are of the Agri Community or the Agri Caste, are included in the syllabus of SY, so senior sort of, at university.
Yeah. So high school, in high school, and
SYBA म्हणजे.
Oh, SYBA. Okay. Yeah. So in university, and just to kind of reiterate as to how pivotal this is. So the dialects that a lot of these poems are in, it's dialects, it's not languages. So it's not, so even though it may be written in Marathi, it is either in Malwani or in Konkani, as you know, as or Agri, as Amrita rightly spoke about earlier, that you know a lot of these poems have been very pivotal to these communities, is also because just for a fun fact for people across the portal as well as our online viewers, these languages or these dialects as we call them, which is Agri, Konkani, Malwani, do not have a script. They're only spoken languages. So ways of passing on culture is only through family, is through land, and is through art. And as someone who's lost, as through oral tradition. So as someone who's already lost land, family and art or oral tradition becomes very, very pivotal. And to have this come as part of various syllabuses is really a great achievement. So just to kind of bring that up.
यहाँ का हमारा जो लैंड अफेक्टेड बन गया वो गवर्नमेंट को सवाल पूछता है, मतलब साहब को बोलता है इंक्वायरी करो कि ये जगह किसके है करके। कविता का नाम है इन्क्वायरी, मतलब इंक्वायरी। आम्ही उगसने भांडाचू पोरा हाव प्रकल्पग्रस्तांची, साहेब तुम्ही इन्क्वायरी करा ही जागा आहे कोणचे बापाशी, साहेब तुम्ही इन्क्वायरी करा ही जागा आहे कोणचे बापाशी.
So we are not just fighting. I mean, the people who are the project affected people are not just fighting without reason. So the person who is in charge of finding out facts, can you figure out whose fathers is this land? So who does this land belong to?
एकवती बाग मोठी आया पाण्याची, हे गावाची लोका पाण्याला यावाची, शेतान तली आया आमची वती, मावरा काट्याची तगंतीच नव्हती, आमचेच आग्रांचे मिठाव, आमचेच आग्रांचे मिठाव, भरतवती पोटा बहुतेकांची, साहेब तुम्ही इन्क्वायरी करा ही जागा आहे कोणचे बापाशी.
So here he's talking about the lakes, the rivers, and the fisher folks who were sort of getting their livelihoods from the lakes and the rivers which were around that area. And he's talking about the various fish which they could eat and how, it was the place that provided sustenance to the people. And then you have to figure out, then he addresses the person who's come for inquiry, that who do these lakes belong to, who do the fish belong to, and who do the, who does the land belong to.
So there's like at the end of like each verse you will have him also. It's not just about the person who's come to do an inquiry. It's sort of like, I'm doing an inquiry to you. Like, it's not just, oh, can you find out for me because I know, but I need you to know who this land belongs to.
तो देऊळ पिपलाचा झाड अजून हायव, नाव माझा आहे ते देवलांचे पाठीव, योजा 712 नक्कल आवारची, का पाहिजे तुम्हाला पुरकी नोटांची, तरी कला चिठी सांगताव, तरी कला चिठी सांगताव, ते आमदार खासदारांची, साहेब तुम्ही इन्क्वायरी करा ही जागा आहे कोणचे बापाशी.
So he is talking about how, the temple and the people tree, which was near the temple, the name of his family is on that temple. But the temple itself is now not there. Help. So, Satbara's Uttara, how do you explain that? It is a official document which is required when you own land in India. It's called the Satbara's Uttara, which is
712.
Yeah.
So it's basically just
It's a
like
number which was put in by the British many years ago. If you had land, then you had a Satbara Uttara, which is an official document for owning that land. So the name on that document is also ours, but who does the land belong to? And at the end of every verse, he keeps asking that you who have come to find out about us, can you also find out about all these things about how we are from here? So why are you, the question is, why is this inquiry being made?
पोटा पाण्याचा आमची सगळा जेलाय पुर कैसाव येईल म्हणूनची हाय हाय शिकूनशी पक्का पण बेकार राहिलो जागन युवांतल आमचे म्हणून आलो आवरा सुनाया आमचा तरी येईल आली भीक मागाची साहेब तुम्ही इनकुरी कराई जागाय कोणचे बापासी.
So again, people who have studied, people who have, but they don't have a job, so they're just sitting around. People who have, what? Jeevan? Kapli, yeah.
So basically, it's not that a lot of them have lost livelihoods because they are incompetent. They have been made to lose their jobs. So we've lost our lives, we've lost our jobs that we belong to. But can you find out who this land belongs to?
करा खोट सांगा मनांचा आम्हा काही सांगू नका पुढाऱ्यांचा राजकारणाचा आया संबंध काय व प्रकल्पग्रस्त चिंता दूर हाय व इनवी पुंडलिक तुम्हा नोकरी द्या तरी वाचमनची साहेब तुम्ही इनकुरी कराई जागाय कोणचे बापासी.
So the thing that which has happened over a whole lot of these projects, where people who own the land and who had a certain kind of knowledge, which was mostly agrarian, of growing plants or looking after the fields, or fishing or hunting. Many of them are given these fourth class kind of jobs, which is either a watchman or a sweeper. So people who had traditional knowledge are not allowed to exercise that knowledge. And so here he's talking about, if he has lost this, then who does this land belong to, and what is the use of the kind of knowledge that they own?
So by the end of the poem, it starts off with very it starts off with a very strong thought saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know why you've come to do an inquiry here, but I want you to find out who this land really belongs to. And by the end of the poem, there is this sort of sadness that takes over this entire sort of a rant, or this sort of like a protest or this fight. And it comes up to saying, as I had mentioned before, for a lot of communities like these, it is land, it is family, and it is the oral art that comes out. So by the end, he talks about how, even though I am losing my land right in front of me, even though you are not acknowledging that this is my land, at least hire me as a watchman so that I can look after that land. So this is how he kind of concludes it, and he also again reiterates the question that if you really are to do an inquiry, do the inquiry of who this land really belongs to. So is what it was. That's it's that emotion with which the poem ends, and it's that emotion with which the poem begins. So it's not just poetry of protest, but it's more about the stages that they went through. So
it is the pain, the loss, and then the resignation of the fact that, okay, we are losing this, but at least, where is the dignity in all this?
Let me hold on to whatever part I can.
Yeah.
So I saw Dhriti, you had something you would like to say. So why don't you go ahead with that?
अभी उनसे कुछ प्रश्न है
I think this will like being from India, I was able to contextualize this, and I actually my comment was more in relation to his second poem, because like in context of the elections coming up, I thought it was so relevant and so powerful, and it just really moved me. But then the third one was even more powerful. So then I'm just like, yeah, I just absolutely loved your poems. Thank you so much for sharing them.
ती धृती आहे, ती बँगलोर पोर्टलमध्ये आहे आणि ती म्हणाली की तुमच्या पोएम्स तिला खूपच आवडल्या आणि तिला खूप मूव्ह केलं, म्हणजे तिला खूप असं गहीवरून आलंय त्या तुमच्या पोएम्स ऐकून. आणि ती बँगलोर म्हणजे कर्नाटकामध्ये आहे आणि तिकडे इलेक्शन चालू आहे आणि तुमची ही पोएम ऐकल्यावर तिला खूप असं स्ट्रॉंगली वाटलं.
Yeah.
Also, like, yeah, I was just about to ask, because it's not something that only, like as Dhriti pointed out, she could understand a lot of the context that India has gone through a lot of this, but I don't believe, like, we've realized this through a lot of our conversations across the portals, that a lot of the issues that we're choosing to face or tackle are not just very local, but also very global. And I know a lot of the participants and artists in the other portals must have, you know, similar experiences or stories. So I would encourage one of you to share. And I see someone at the Kigali portal eager to do so.
अच्छा, 1238 म्हणजे 1.
Hi. Thank you very much for sharing, and I want to appreciate the efforts for translating a poem. This is the hardest task because you know, there's a context, there's a language that is a whole world in itself, and the two of you managed to really bring both context, meaning, and feeling, and you know, all that is encompassed in one poem. Although I'm sure that there is so much more to it. First, I wanted to say thank you, and these poems really are very, very close to me, and I believe to us too, because, you know, and that's also now the beauty of art, and the beauty of sharing, of having a portal like this, is to realize just how small the world is, like just like this portal that we're in. Because in Kigali, you know, after the liberation, in 1994, you know, after the war, the whole country was destroyed, basically. And so they started rebuilding, and it was frantic, really. It was like seeing mushrooms growing. That's how buildings were growing. And it kept going on for 29 years now. And at some point, if you did not leave your house for a month, you would come out of your house and you would see maybe 2, 3 buildings in town. And it was everywhere like this. And the town was expanding, and it was a little bit scary. But then we did not realize, we did not ask the question what was going on at that moment, and what that meant. And unfortunately, it means that a lot of what we call here Kavukire means the people, the natives, right? The natives referred to as the people who own the land, the people who were born on the land, the people whose parents were born on the land, which is, well, I have my reserves about owning land, because, you know, we borrow it, maybe we share it. That's how I view it. But in true sense, completely, that meant that a lot a lot of people in Kigali as it expanded and as it was transformed frantically for the past 29 years. A lot of people have lost their home in the true sense of what a home means. And then they have basically built these suburbs, places where they are then put, like they are then taken to, meaning losing a lot of their old cultures and heritage and, you know, communities and community habits and how they used to live together, because now they are, you know, instead of living maybe close to the soil, they're living in a place that is more modernized. And so that's how it has caused a lot of damage and you know, and that's what modernization basically does.
Thank you for sharing. That was so beautiful to hear. My name is Gilen, and we're joining in from Kigali, and I'm the person here at the portal. So I just wanted to ask, since we are sharing about the dynamics of the artists, like using their art to kind of like kickstart the climate action, I'd like to ask Natasha, what do you think is your contribution as an artist using your art to kickstart the climate action? How has your art so far helped into the climate?
Oh, yeah, I think I can answer that question, but I can also answer when it's my time to speak. I don't know how you feel.
I think that would be good. Thanks, Natasha, so much. And I'm just gonna come back to like put a small end on like what we've tried to establish here at the Mumbai portal through the poetries. But before we do that, I also know that areas of Johannesburg also kind of experience similar experiences as Natasha spoke about in Kigali, or as artists spoke about here at the Mumbai portal. So if so if Masai would like to say something about, talk a little more about your experiences or how you took the session that we had up till now.
I just before I go on that, I just want to speak on the translations that was happening. I really appreciate the effort, and like he says, the difficulty of translating a poem is nearly impossible to sort of get the gist of what it's really about. But the translations really guided us and helped us to get to what was trying to be expressed. Essentially, I want to go back to a specific line. I think it was from the first poem that sort of spoke to my experience, and I think the experience of many people. The line, as translated, it says, even the perpetrators cannot sleep. And I think there's something sort of profound in that, in the sense of just acknowledging that even though something is done to you, the person doing it to you as well is sort of experiencing nearly sort of something similar. There's a saying that I could be paraphrasing, but it speaks along the line of, in order to keep someone in the mud, you must be in the mud with them, essentially. And I think it's quite profound to when as a writer and as a people that have suffered displacement, to have the amount of empathy and the amount of humility to acknowledge that the perpetrators themselves also experiencing non-sleep, also whose dreams are also affected by this. And there's something humbling about that sort of perspective from those pieces. And that's just merely from the translation. I would really love to understand the language and speak it even more. I don't know if it's, yeah.
Thank you so much, Masai.
Can you just translate?
Yeah. Oh, right. So I'm gonna also let Sharmila translate to them what you've just spoken about and also what Natasha spoke about. But while that also happens, like as you said, that kind of brought me back to another saying that I heard from someone here local in Dharavi. And like, when you spoke about that, it kind of really brought me back to what one of the older participants from Dharavi had told me. And I'm going to say it the way that she said it, and then I'm going to translate it for you. So she said, कि स्वर्ग पहुंचने को पहले मरना तो पड़ता ही है ना. And which translates to reach heaven, in order to reach heaven, at some point, you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that you have to die. You can't reach heaven without death. So it's such a strong and powerful statement to, kind of put out there, to kind of also understand the spirit of people in here, where they don't believe that, oh, it's easy or it's accessible to everyone to achieve the kind of dreams that people are choosing or wishing to achieve, like bringing back to what his first poem was. For them, it's dreams. And to be order to achieve those dreams, they know they're going to have to go through literal death, but it's not going to come easily to them. And I think we also have a comment from Addis Ababa before we jump to the next portal.
Thank you. I really want to perform now because I have a guest artist. If you finish, and also, yeah, I'm just need 10 minutes of your ears, and this is my song performing. And thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So we're going to jump into kickstart.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So while Laiko prepares his poem, just to take like 20 seconds to acknowledge that we have online viewers, and like we had such a fruitful back and forth here at the portals. We would also like to see this sort of happen online on our YouTube live stream. So please flood in with your comments as to what you felt, whether it's about the poetry here, whether it's about performances that are going to keep coming up, as well as like the discussion we have across the portals right now.
Thank you. This is my sound performing with the invited artist Dani. Dani made this calabash sounds. So we've been exercising this performing, and this is our second performing from the last exhibition. But what is related with this portfolio meeting is to connect, the air, the water, and the tree, and with also the bird sounds, which I've been recording last time, because this is, for the respect of nature, birds, trees, water, and yeah. Thank you so much. This is it. Thank you for your time.
Is this the sound is very similar to the degree-do? Is it a similar instrument?
Yes, actually it's true. Dani can explain. Actually, he got this sharing of experience from the Australian indigenous artist. He can explain a bit.
Thank you so much. Already it's inspired from didgeridoo, but I call it in Amharic the jadara, too similar to that we have in our country in different places for different purpose. So I am a visual artist, so I have a long project, just audio visual things to connect video, audio and visual. So there is, if you see it, there is kind of writing.
Yeah, there is some texture, some design, some signs of, and also Dani been experience in Sudan 10 years art experience. So he just do some text and also some design, and it's so he just can also feel like as a sculpture. It's making connect with calabash and using paper mache paint. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I just had a question. So is this part of ritualistic, any kind of regular everyday rituals that is part of everyday life, or is it part of a domestic ritual or a religious ritual or rituals that you perform in nature? What this? Yeah, can you just? I just wanted to know.
Actually, you can say this is artistical ritual, nothing related to the mosque or the church, but we in Ethiopia we still have this common religious way of living of Christian and Muslims living together. The way I dressed up, it's the way when we cover our heads and we use water as holy believing. So we try to connect this our artistic way of living ritual to connect with the nature, to connect with the trees. This is you can say art ritual.
Thank you. Thank you so
Very
much.
nice. Thank you so
much. And as we move ahead from that, I think, Natasha, you have something prepared for us. Would you like to go next? You're on one, just a second. I think, Gulin, you're on mute.
Oh, hello. So my name is Natasha Mzilamakenga, for those who are also feeling art. I'm a So I'm an artist, I'm a performer, I'm a poet, an actress, and I do a lot of work that has to do with healing. So healing through so many channels. Environment is one of them. A few years back, I made my performing name Miziguka, which in English means flying roots. And I would like to talk a little bit about that because it's the essence of why I felt like I had to express something through art. Because so I come from displaced parents, and I was born in exile. So which is why I had a little bit of why I had to heal in the first place, because it creates a sort of a identity gap or crisis to be born in a place that is not, it is your soil because you were born there. It's not your parents' soil because they were not born there. I'm always questioning myself, which soil should I return to, right? Is it the soil of my ancestors, meaning the soil of my parents' parents? Or is it the soil that had me, that saw me coming to life? It's the language that I learned, which contains all the culture of that place. And then I come to this place, which is supposed to be where I belong. And then I don't know the language and I have to learn it. Right? And all these questionings, eventually after writing very, very, very many poems about identity and the search of it and who am I and where am I, etc. I came to peace with that by renouncing soil.
Can you just share with us one poem?
No, I am coming there.
Right.
So with renouncing soil, what I mean is that I choose to belong nowhere because I choose to belong everywhere. And it is the idea that soil then becomes mine every time I put my feet on it, and that I have the intention of asking the permission to the ancestors that I find on that soil to welcome me on that soil, and then I become part of the people. So that is basically the origin of the name Flying Roots and Miziguka and all the work that I've done towards that. So recently I was also working towards being a woman and what it means in terms of owning, not only just owning land, because we have only had a law for the past maybe 20 or 15 years in Rwanda that a woman would inherit land, because before that we could not inherit land, right? So as a woman, it's a new concept that land can belong to you. So that was taking me even further to the thought of how then am I safe on the land, on the soil, and does it belong to me? So I have a video that is so heavy that I could not, I don't think that it's a whole film. And I don't think I I can share it on the screen, but we can share it maybe in the comment on the YouTube, and maybe each can watch it. So it's called Fragma. It's one of the things that I wanted to share with you today. It's a project that I did with the Green Architecture project in Rwanda, where then I wanted to reclaim the public space as a woman, to reclaim land, to reclaim soil, and to view soil as a home that can that I can then become. If you look at the video in the comments, you can see that. So I would also love to share a little poem with you. So it's a poem that I'm going to read, that I wrote, that has to do with the relationship with not only soil and the silencing of everything around, in order to listen better. So I will go ahead and do that. So, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I have a few sentences in French, but it's just one sentence. I will translate it. What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? C'est le printemps. Faut que je me lève, que j'aille au champ, arrêter le massacre. Basically, this means, what time is it? It is spring. I have to wake up and go to the field to stop the massacre. So it's the only sentence in French, so I translate it, and now I start over. What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? C'est le printemps. Faut que je me lève, que j'aille au champ, arrêter le massacre. Suddenly, everything froze. I took a pause as well to watch what kept going when nothing else was. I heard heartbeats around me becoming louder and louder until they were perfectly clear. All that I had silenced started to speak words. Fire preferred to stay inside. Water was simply flowing without a bang. The trees were waving their arms as they sang. What time is it? It must be a form of adoration, void of emotion, just motion, sound, and rhythm. It is at that specific moment that the sky cracked open for a fraction of a second, almost imperceptible, a strike of luck. I was there. I saw, and I understood. Life was trying to tell me her first name. I stayed still and surrendered. I learned how to dance without moving. I drank the sun every morning to find my balance, My gaze was my stance. I listened to the silence. I tried to capture what the atmosphere was whispering to my cells. A nice whoosh that was blowing on my skin too. Now I know. I don't have to know anything when I can feel everything. I know that all that I didn't know before led me to her when I listened. The skin I shed drew a map to here. What time is it? C'est le printemps. Faut que je me lève, que j'aille au champ. Arrêtez le massacre. She was the voice inside. She had always been. I became her. I became earth. I became the mask of my freedom ritual. I became the voice within and the voice out loud. I transcended space and matter. I am earth.
Hey guys.
Crazy.
Thank you for sharing that. That was very beautiful.
That was deep, man.
Oh my goodness.
So, that's deep, 100%.
So yeah, I'm.
You have
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was so good. And I was trying to translate that to Matreji in Hindi and Marathi. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you can as well do that while we're also giving it over to Copenhagen for them to share with us what they have prepared today for us and the rest of the world that is watching us online. Yeah.
Yeah, and as Colleen said, as for the rest of the world watching online, please do share your comments and thoughts and questions that you have for us. And for the artists across various portals, we'll be sure to respond to them.
Hi, I'll just take it here from Copenhagen. Hello, everyone. My name is Frederick, and I'm the facilitator here in Copenhagen. For today, our artist is not present, but I would like to thank Natasha really deeply from my heart with what you're sharing, because like the way that I feel it amongst us here, the way that you touch our heart, in the way you present your words is magic and is connecting at least me with the earth right here, right now. And that's also what I see and hear from the sharings we had before. And also go beyond and saying that we are, or you are, not even yourself, you are the earth. You are the soil. So thank you so much, Natasha. So deeply felt from here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frederick, so much. And how about
Masai?
Yeah, exactly. How about we ask Masai to share what he's prepared for us today at the Joburg portal with such a beautiful and bright smile. I must add.
Yeah, I mean, my name is Masai Zipuru. I'm based in Johannesburg, and I've been the past six weeks now. We're just responding and going back and forth with the scores that we've been having from the residency, and something that was, I suppose, in its inception about climate and the voices that are not heard. It found its way into, I think naturally it found its way into soil, and it grounded itself into soil, and everything else sort of started to sprout from there. And it has become such a beautiful thing. And today it began to blossom. Sort of part of my research and part of my contribution to the residency was the research of the Johannesburg city that I live in and its history. Its history of again displacement, its history of mining and farming, its history of apartheid, and how we have all gotten where we are right now. Over the past weeks, I've been exploring the openings that cannot be closed anymore, the mines, the valleys that have been opening up for trenches, for water, for farming, and how people have managed to find and make a living in and around that situation, and sort of building one of the biggest cities, if not the biggest city in the continent of Africa, and sort of investigating how has those holes been filled, and if not filled, how have people lived around that. So sort of as a reflection, poetry and music have been written, but also in investigation that I have done, questioning people that live in different parts of the city. Ironically, it being one city, because of its history, it has different soil. It has different types of soil. It's also in the research project. There's different types of soils. I don't know if it's visible on the video. I'm sure it's not, from the same city, but they're all sort of different based on what was done on the soil itself and what is being done on the soil sort of currently, who lives there, who has access to that, who doesn't have access to that, and what are we doing with this jarring history that we have. So I'll just like to jump in with the art and the music that we've created from Johannesburg as sort of like if Johannesburg could speak back, what would it say, or sort of the cries of the city, if you may, or if you must. We'll first start with the music, with the guitar, and then we'll sort of fuse it with the music and the poetry. You want to start? Yes. Yes.
Hi everyone. My name is Shoni Kutu, and then I'll play a song called Bring Me Home. The ground is full of broken stone. The last leaf has fallen. I've nowhere to turn now. Not east, not west, not a south. All that's ahead of me. Everything I know but I'm far away from God. My tears flow like a child in need of love, and I've cried the tears. Oh, let the fire light the flame. So bring me home. Oh, 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 the smallest step I need to take is a mountain, stretched out like a lazy dog. Send me to the slaughter, lay me on the railway line. I'm far away from God. My tears flow like a child in need of love, and I've cried the tears. Oh, let the fire light the flame. So bring me home. Yeah, so yeah, that is all about displacement, human living, a sense of connection that you feel should always be tangible, but sometimes it's very fragile for us to live on. So Bring Me Home is one of those songs that has identity crisis, people that are looking for a sense of belonging, and then people that are travelers, people that feel like their soul is dead, people that feel like their souls are traveling far. So a song is for all those people that can't speak.
Yala, silly, silly. To understand the leaves, understand the tree. To understand the tree, understand the roots. To understand the roots, understand the people. The people, the people, the people. To understand the city, understand the streets. To understand the streets, understand the feet of the people, the people, the people, the people. To understand the dreams, understand the songs. To understand the songs, understand the dancing, the dancing, the dancing of the people, the people, the people. To understand the leaves, understand the tree. To understand the tree, understand the root. To understand the roots, understand the people, the people, the people, the people. To understand the city, understand the streets. To understand the streets, understand the feet of the people, the people, the people, the people. Ever we. Batumi babuile, babuile, batilele nama, babuile. Batumi babuile, babuile, batilele nama. Nasiri shabaka nama reshabaka, kere talaonyela, babuile. Batumi babuile, batilele nama. Nasiri shabaka nama reshabaka, kere talaonyela, babuile. Batumi babuile, batilele nama. Naseleri shabakanama, reshabakanama. The city built on a mine, whose foundation is chambers for gold diggers, whose foundation is graves for freedom seekers. A land once home for kings, now stripped of his skin, for its bones is gold. Now the city is scarred with roads, with people without a home for its gold, for its gold. Babuile batumi, batumi babuile, babuile, bakilele nama, bakilele nama. Nasilere shebakanama, reshabakanama. Gereta launye, to understand the street, you understand the streets. To understand the streets, you understand the feet of the people, the people, the people, the people, the people, the people, the people. To understand the dreams, understand the songs, to understand the songs, understand the voices of the people, the people, the people. To understand the leaves, understand the tree, to understand the tree, understand the root, to understand the roots, understand the people, the people, the people, the people, the people, the people, the people. Thank you. Thank you. Batumi babuile, batilele nama, batilele nama, babuile, Batumi babuile, 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 batilele nama, batilele na seresha bakana, maresha bakana, talaunile, talaunile.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Masai.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. But you know, when I'm listening to you, and the thing that you responded to Mr. Mhatre's poem was this philosophy of Ubuntu, which we learned from you guys. And it would be lovely if you could actually talk a little bit about Ubuntu and how that has actually, been the basis of empathy between people, and if that has actually brought about the change which was necessary after apartheid through the Truth and Reconciliation.
Yes, it's actually quite interesting because the first world and its old philosophy of I think therefore I am is sort of centered within self and the one's perspective within the world, and it sort of like spins on its head when we come further down or into Africa, and mostly in the Ubuntu people of Africa, Southern Africa, where then it is not I think therefore I am, it is I am because you are.
You are,
which
exactly.
Essentially that is Ubuntu. It means I am because you are. I exist because of you exist. My recognition, I exist because I'm recognized. Actually, one of the greetings that we do at home, in my language, we say dumelang, which in loosely translated is acknowledge or agree, which means I'm acknowledging your presence. I am agreeing, you must agree therefore that you're here. You know what I mean? That sort of essentially centered into it's we are hot wired from our teachings and our culture with this huge empathy. And that has been sort of one of our greatest contribution to the world, and where because of that it was people easily taken advantage of because of that, because we do not recognize owning people, we do not recognize in selling people or owning the land, or it was always one with us and we are one with each other. So when someone out and someone that is foreign introduced this idea of ownership, this idea of it is easily to sort of manipulate and take advantage, not manipulate, sort of take advantage of that sort of humility and kindness of a people. Because the idea would then be, the general idea is that the war was lost in the trenches, in the battle, but essentially the war was lost because kindness was taken advantage of. People that did not see the need to fight or the need to defend themselves, we were welcoming, and that sort of backfired. But what I really appreciate of my people and the Southern African people is their stubbornness to maintain the Ubuntu regardless of the history, and to sort of even go further as to teach the world and the world to even know of that perspective, to give another perspective of I think, therefore I am, to I am because you are. Essentially. And that sort of revealed itself also in the poetry that you guys were reading on the other side, acknowledging that what you're doing to me, essentially doing it to yourself. That what you said, that in order to get to heaven, you must then die. Those are sort of the things that you need to acknowledge just generally, especially because the global community is growing, and inevitably so, such that I am in South Africa now and I'm talking to, I don't know, 5-6 countries simultaneously. So to share these sort of philosophies and ideas, it's quite very important, and that's where the residency has played such a huge, impactful role. That's where the portals have played an immense role in linking and sort of, in its way, shrinking the world to make it small enough to be one community. I can go on forever, but I just want to leave it to everyone if they have any questions about what we presented. If any comments, really would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I sort of wanted to add to what you're saying about the philosophy Ubuntu. We speaking a language of a Bantu language, our language Kinyarwanda. We have that Ubuntu, which literally means you're giving free of charge, and Ubumuntu, which means humanity. So that makes me think of the fact that when we think about kindness or giving free of charge, we always think about we humans giving to other humans. We don't think about we giving to the soil, to the earth, to our mother earth, which actually makes us. We are constantly pouring from the earth, but it's like we don't necessarily reciprocate the energy that we get from the earth. So the fact that we could always extend that philosophy to not only taking care of each other as human beings, but as well as giving to the earth free of charge, which means taking care of it even when it cannot speak for itself, because when it speaks, it's going to speak tragedy. It's going to always react in a very bad way when you see floods or soil or erosion or these global warming. I feel like we could extend that philosophy to also taking care of the earth, not necessarily to keeping it in the circles of human beings, because who are we without our planet Earth?
I just wanted to tell you. Thank you. I just wanted to share about this thing which is practiced in a place called Rajasthan, which is in the north of India, which is called keeping the land free. By free, it means you fallow, just in between the agriculture sort of seasons, there are times when the land is given rest. Land is just allowed to be without tilling it, without, planting anything, and thereby not having any harvest. And it is such a beautiful practice which was going on prior to this corporatization of land and produce. So now, of course, nobody can keep land free to just be, because it is a source of income. But this fact that within agrarian societies, fallow land or land was allowed to breathe is such a beautiful concept, because then, like us, the farmers work during the farming season and then they rest. And just as they rested, the land also was allowed to rest. But these are old indigenous practices. These are practices that people followed before this entire capitalist kind of systems have taken over and have completely changed all the indigenous thoughts and processes and the kind of, traditions and rituals which we had followed.
I think also it's just from the changing of the mentality of seeing earth or soil as something that is dead to something that is living. As we heard from the very first presentation of today, soil as a living thing, soil as a collaborator. And if it is living, if it is living and it is a collaborator, then essentially it also needs rest, because we need rest, and to apply the mentality or apply the philosophy of Ubuntu, not just between me and my fellow men, also to apply it to the earth itself. And I think it fits like a puzzle. It fits very perfect to say, I am because you are, and by you meaning the earth. I exist because you exist. And what I'm doing to you effectively will happen to me as well. So I need to tread carefully and listen and communicate with the earth simultaneously, because inevitably I live on earth. I need to build on earth, to grow on earth, to plant on earth. That requires a sense of a conversation that needs to be heard. And that conversation can only realistically happen if we view earth as a living thing.
I agree. I completely agree, Messiah. And I think that is something that translates to a lot of like indigenous, or I would like to use the word vernacular practices that used to happen a lot in this country as well. Like, for example, even in his poem, we kept talking about how the people of the land know the land best. It's not because they have been there since years, but they've been communicating with the land, with the flora around it, with the fauna around it. And I remember my father kept telling me that, so I am myself, my father is a Konkani. So we used to keep like a coconut is like the most important fruit that has and tree as well. And my father would keep telling me that, yeah, it is, because it literally no part of a coconut can go to waste. Its trees give us shade. Its leaves is something that we use. We use the inner fruit. We use the shells to make bowls like these. And even including like the shavings that come out of a coconut were used to like wash your vessels and things like that. So no part of the coconut really went to waste, and every part kept getting used. So it was not just about knowing your land or communicating with it, but as you rightly pointed out, it was about acknowledging its life form and the life that it gave to us. So it, like a tree or a plant in one's house or on one's land, was never treated like a tree or a plant or something that is growing or a property. It would be treated like a family member. It was a part of the existence of of living around us. So whenever we talk about green or sustainable, it's very important to point out that we're not talking about the sustenance of the planet, because the planet will survive. It's about the sustenance of us on the planet.
I just wanted to add to this, because like the poetry that you've heard from Indalekji today is around obviously loss, displacement, inquiry, and a very, very strong kind of questioning, and we were coming and we were talking about the difference of temperature that they had in their villages, and the difference of temperature that they feel in the rehabilitated land, because there are no trees. And when in one of the poems, there is the mention of the people tree near the temple. And I remember that people tree that he's talking about, because we visited his village and visited the temple. And the people tree was a beautiful, large tree that sort of offered so much shade. And तो मैं क्या बोल रही हूँ कि आपके कविता में जो आपने people tree मतलब आपके टेम्पल के पास, तो हम जब आ रहे थे तब बात कर रहे थे कि जो गांव में जो ठंड थी, मतलब बिकॉज ऑफ द
बहुत सारे पेड़
थे, लेकिन आपके अब जहाँ पे रह रहे अभी वही बहुत गर्मी है, बिकॉज पेड़ नहीं है और जमीन बहुत तपती है ना, तो वो थोड़ा बात, हाँ, जो आपका सॉइल है जहाँ पे आप रह रहे, जहाँ पे रिहैबिलिटेट, उसके बारे में थोड़ी सी मिट्टी के बारे में
जी माती तुम्ही गावात सोडून आलात आणि जी माती आता तुम्हाला रिहॅबिलिटेशन साइट्स मध्ये मिळते त्याच्यात काय फरक आहे?
आमच्या गावाकडं संपूर्ण मातीमध्येच आमचं जीवन होतं. शेती मातीमध्ये, सगळं काही मातीमध्ये होतं. पण आम्ही एअरपोर्टवर आमची गाव विस्थापित झाली आणि आम्ही कॉलनीमध्ये राहायला गेलो. इथं मातीचा पत्ताच नाही. पर्यावरण तर सोडा, एक झाड सुद्धा बघायला मिळत नाही. त्याच्यामुळं हीट एवढी वाढते की संपूर्ण कॉन्क्रिटीकरण आहे ना तिथं. मातीचा लवरेशी नाही. पूर्वी आम्ही गावी राहायचो. जरी आता मॉडर्न युग आलं आणि घरामध्ये लाद्या बसल्या तरी एक रूम आमची आजोबा जे पूर्वज होते ते सांगायचे की एका खोलीमध्ये तरी मातीची रूम तुम्ही ठेवा. म्हणजे क्ले संपूर्ण असायचं जमिनीमध्ये. त्याच्यावर लादी नाही, कॉन्क्रीट नाही, काय नाही. आता
शेणाचं हे करायचं.
आणि एअरपोर्ट मुलं संपूर्ण पर्यावरणाचा तर आमच्या ऱ्हास झालाच आणि आम्ही बरबाद झालो. आता आम्ही आयुष्य इथं भोगतोय ते आमचं आम्हाला कुणाला सांगून उपयोगच नाही. आमची काय स्टोरी आहे ती. म्हणजे हे मांडण्याचा मी सर्व कवितेतून प्रयत्न केला. मी 1970 पासून कविता करतोय आणि तेव्हा ते 1974चं गाणं जे गणपतीचं बनवलं मी, त्याची रेकॉर्डिंग अजूनही माझ्याकडे आहे आणि अजूनही म्हणतोय. पण आगरी भाषेबद्दल जी लोकांना ओढ लागली माझ्या, ती खरोखर मी प्रमाण भाषेत लिहितो, हिंदी भाषेत लिहितो, देशावरच्या भाषेत लिहितो. पण ते सांगतात नाही तुम्ही ट्रान्सलेशन इंटू आगरी. आगरीमध्ये जी लय आहे, आगरीमध्ये तालबद्धता आहे, ती दुसऱ्या कुठल्याही कवितेमध्ये किंवा मला जमत नाही. आणि शक्यतो मी ती कविता चालीवरतीच लिहिण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो. आणि आता तर आमच्या कोरोना काळात
मी जरा एवढं ट्रान्सलेट करते नाही तुम्हाला ते एवढं सगळं करता येईल. So what he is saying is that the language that he writes in is he writes on the meter. He writes with the rhythm before he starts writing it. He thinks of the rhythm before he starts writing it. He says that the language that he speaks, the Agri Marathi, is a very, very sweet language. And no other language can actually capture the nuances that this language has. He said that the difference between the land that he left behind and the land that he has now been rehabilitated into is like, you know, there was soil and now there is concrete. He has gone from a village house, a village settlement, into a building. He said that everywhere it is hot and it is impossible to live, and there are no trees at all in the new rehabilitation site. And therefore, what he had, I mean, you know, there's a continuous feeling of loss, which is not just about the loss of the place, but how do you describe loss of seasons, loss of shade, loss of memories around a tree, which was there in the village. So, you know, it's a number of losses, but it starts with the fact that there was this soil on which they could walk, and now they're living in a place which is like an oven, which is so hot, because the entire amount of, Natasha wanted to say something. Can't hear you.
I did not want to interrupt you. I just wanted to mention that I wanted to add something to that, but you should.
Please do.
Yeah, so on the work that I was doing with green architecture, it was very funny for me that also the unbearable heat in the houses is also due to like colonialist colonial past that has changed not only the way we build the houses with bringing all the concrete and everything, but also the building of this. for us, while we were doing this, it was about the research that was looking for sustainable materials to build a house. And
sustainable materials जर find out करायचं असेल तर things जे युरोपमधनं किंवा अमेरिकेमधनं आपल्याकडे आले तर ते मटेरियल आपल्याला
And the irony of this all is that for a while here in Kigali, they had forbidden the use of what we call rukarakara, basically mud houses, which is so much stronger and more sustainable and all of the above and better for the climate in which we live in, you know, to make the house breathe and all that. And it was all only concrete. They only wanted concrete for so many years. And then now, because the country is really has gone green and there are all these researchers that have to come from universities and they make years of researches to only find out that our way actually was the good way that is sustainable and our place. And I find it's very
ironic
to see.
So one of the things that Natasha, one of the things that Mr. Pundalik said was that in their village houses, they always had at least one room which was always made out of mud and cow dung. And that was the coolest room.
Exactly.
We are just... So, you know, it's street.
Yeah, also like am I mute? No. It's the living conditions and the experience of living in Joburg, and for longest time, sort of what does that do sort of to a person? I just want someone that I've brought in to sort of speak on that.
Oh, that'll be lovely.
No, it's just like the living in Joburg in a concrete, in mostly concrete environment. Is there like a visible impact that it has had on you?
Hi guys, I'm Chevy Noir. I'm a visual artist, painter, drawer. Just to add my 2 cents to the conversation. I've lived most of my life in Johannesburg, born and raised here, and it's all I know. You know, normally you get guys or like individuals who go out of Johannesburg or out of Gauteng to go home. And all I've known as home is Johannesburg. So my life was centered around, you know, this concrete jungle that he speaks of. And one thing, just to add, like, it's been a blissful experience for me personally. The access you have to the diversity and diverse cultures, the access you have to international coming in and out, it's been beautiful. The only downside to all of that is that you might engage sometimes with someone who is born and raised in, like, say, Limpopo or, like, outside of Gauteng, outside of Johannesburg, who has roots with their, who's got a relationship with their grandparents, who have roots with ancestors and everything. And when you engage with that individual, there's this kind of cognitive dissonance that you have with another black brother, like, or another black sister. So you're looking at someone who you identify with just off of looking, but when you go deeper into it, there's nothing you have in common. But you come into Johannesburg where there's this diversity and all these new people that come in, you have connections and relationship with them. So that's the downside of it all. Just to conclude, to add on to what I heard and a perspective which I kind of saw, the scale of how we all treat the dissonance that we have and the adjustment from what was to what is and how we treat it
was like a vertical line, right? Where you go from 0 and you're climbing up to 100. But what we've done with this generation is like tipped it down onto a horizontal plane, where instead of going up and down, where you fall and you rise, you just step back, step forward, step back, step forward. And that's basically what it is. You've turned this into this, and now you can engage with the soil, you can engage with the land, you can engage with things on a plane where you not lost, but you can go forward. Thanks.
Amazing.
Oh, man.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to our artists, our guests, everyone who tuned in across the world to join this historic conversation on climate. I'd like to thank our founders and our partners, Care Foundation and the Shared Studios. And I would also like to tell you that you can as well sign up to be physically in one of the portals by signing in at www.museumfortheun.org. You can slide into our DMs by searching us on all social media platforms on the Museum for the UN, and as well as write to us an email at info@museumfortheun.org. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for amazing perspectives that you've shared with us. And yeah, see you next time. Let us give space for another channel to connect as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody